Chapter 8 Blackie Solves a Problem. A day or so later, the kittens were well and settled at Animal Ark. As a special treat, Dr. Adam and Dr. Emily let Mandy keep them up in her bedroom. They had a brand new wooden box that Grandpa had made, and James's mom had sent over a special blanket. The box stood against the warm radiator. Dr. Emily found 6 little dishes for their milk. Mandy insisted they each have one of their own, and Dr. Adam had found a litter tray for them to use while they were there. Mandy gave all the kittens names. She wrote their names down in her journal. She called the largest black kitten Pepper. Black with a tiny orange tip to her tail, Mandy wrote. She studied the others. Sam, she said suddenly. That's a good name, too. She wrote that down. All black, she put down, with a tiny orange spot over one eye. She went on gazing at the kittens. They were rolling around on her bedside rug, pretending to fight. They looked full of health. Their eyes were bright and their tummies were quite chubby now, and full of milk. Pumpkin, she said. That sounds pretty good. She wrote it down. Then carrots, because the color of the kitten's fur reminded Mandy of the orange carrots Grandpa grew in his vegetable garden. Mandy thought about the residents of the home. She felt sure they would like the name Carrots, too. There were 2 kittens left. Both were black and orange. The smaller of the 2 was very lively. He had already managed to climb up Mandy's quilt and onto her bed. I know, Mandy said suddenly. Clown. That's a good name for a naughty boy like you. And then she remembered the old man at the home who said he didn't like cats. George, Mandy decided. She wrote it down, then looked at the page filled with names. He's bound to like you if you're named after him. Mandy went to pick up George. She gave him a cuddle and rubbed his soft fur against her cheek. There you are, she said, feeling satisfied. Now you've all got names. I can't wait to introduce you to your new owners. Mandy felt a pang of sadness. She would really miss the kittens. Having them here was like having her very own pets. Then she smiled to herself. 6 kittens were a handful. They needed much more space than her small bedroom. Della would still need help, so that meant Mandy would still see a lot of the kittens, and they would always be very special to her. A few days after that, Dr. Adam declared the kittens fit to go to their new home. We'll take them on Saturday morning, he told Mandy. Mandy had been very busy looking after the kittens. She fed them and cleaned out their tray every morning before she went to school. She rushed home after school to feed them again. Then she played with them before dinner. Because they no longer needed their mother to groom them, Mandy did it instead. She found a little soft brush and groomed their fur. Each day Mandy checked their ears to make sure they were clean. Then she bathed their eyes gently with cotton. Last thing every night, Mandy wrote in her journal. There were lots of things for her to write about. In fact, the journal was almost full. In the journal were the names and details of all the kittens. Mandy had written down what they liked to eat and what games they liked to play. She also wrote what happened each day. On the day before the kittens were ready to go to their new home, Mandy made her last entry. It had been 6 days since Mr. Green had left the kittens at Betty's shelter. Mandy wrote, Kitten Day 6, the last day at Animal Ark. Morning. I gave Pepper, Carrots, Pumpkin, George, Clown, and Sam their breakfast. Pepper stole some of Pumpkin's. George stole some of Sam's. Clown pushed his bowl under the chair and ate his there. He doesn't like the other kittens watching him eat his breakfast. Evening. I gave the kittens a special bath and brushed them. They start their new jobs as therapy cats tomorrow at Westmore House. George was naughty. He ran under my dressing table and would not come out. Clown climbed on my bed and got lost under the quilt. James came and almost sat on top of him. The others were good. I know I'll feel sad when the kittens have gone. Mandy made a special copy of the journal for Della and the residents. She hoped her journal would be one of the most interesting ones in the class. After all, who else would have had 6 kittens to write about? On Saturday morning, Dr. Emily came upstairs to Mandy's bedroom. She was carrying a big basket with a wire door on the front. It was a special basket for carrying cats and kittens. All the kittens were asleep in their box. Mandy felt very proud as she gently took them out one by one. They were all sleek and healthy. They yawned and stretched, then sat up and began washing themselves. It was as if they knew they were going somewhere special. Mandy took their blanket from the box and put it in the basket. She knew they would like to have their own blanket in their new home. She put the kittens inside the basket, all except Clown. He had disappeared as usual. Mandy lay on her stomach and looked under the bed. Clown was there, playing with a pencil that Mandy had dropped. Mandy stretched out her arm and picked him up. "Oh, you," she said. She kissed his tiny nose. Then she carefully put him into the basket and closed the wire door. Mandy picked up the basket and took it downstairs. Dr. Emily followed with a wooden box. Dr. Adam was in the kitchen getting ready to go out on a call. "Ready?" he asked. "Yep," Mandy said. She couldn't hide the sadness in her voice. "You'd better say goodbye to our kitten crowd." Dr. Adam peered into the basket. "Well, Mandy," he said, "they look terrific. You've certainly done a good job of looking after them." "Thanks, Dad," Mandy sighed. "I'm really going to miss them." Dr. Adam gave her a hug. "I'm sure you'll still see lots of them." Mandy managed to smile. "Yes, I know, but it won't be the same as having them here." Dr. Emily gave Mandy her car keys. "You better put the kittens in the back of the car," she said. "I've just got to check my appointments. I'll bring their box out with me." As Mandy went out the front door with a basket, James came walking along the road with Blackie. They were going to come with Mandy and Dr. Emily to deliver the kittens. "Hi, James." Mandy put the basket down on the sidewalk. She gave Blackie a hug. Blackie sniffed at the basket, his tail wagging. He would have loved to play with the kittens. "Have you finished your journal?" James asked Mandy when he said hello to the kittens. Mandy suddenly realized she had left Della's copy upstairs in her bedroom. "Yep," she said, "but I forgot to bring it down. I'll be right back." Mandy rushed back inside. Dr. Adam was just leaving. "What's up?" "I forgot my journal," Mandy said as she rushed past him. She ran up the stairs. Blackie jerked away from James and followed her up. "Hey!" James scooted inside after him. Blackie was running up the staircase. The Labrador dived into Mandy's room and grabbed her old teddy bear from the chair. He began shaking it, ready for a game. "Blackie!" Mandy was just getting the journal from her desk. James arrived, looking red in the face. "Sorry," he gasped. Blackie ran out and raced along the landing. Shouting, Mandy ran after him. "Drop it!" she commanded when she caught him halfway through the bathroom door. Blackie wagged his tail. Mandy frowned and tried to sound angry. "Drop it," she said again. Blackie suddenly dropped the teddy at her feet. She rubbed his head. "Good boy." "Good boy," James gasped. "When has Blackie ever been good?" You must give him lots of praise," Mandy said in an annoying voice. "What, even when he steals your things?" James said. "No, when he gives them back," Mandy laughed. "Come on, my mom will wonder what's happened." When they got back downstairs, Dr. Emily was still in the clinic. Mandy went to put the basket into the back of the car. It was then that she saw the door of the basket had swung open. The kittens were nowhere to be seen. "Oh, James!" Mandy gasped in horror. She spun around. How could 6 kittens disappear in such a short time? Now what were they going to do? Blackie was sniffing at the blanket. Then, nose to the ground, he headed off into the shrubbery. "Quick!" James ran after him. "I bet he can smell them." Mandy followed. They could hear Blackie snuffling around under one of the bushes. Mandy bent down. There, playing with some dead leaves, were 2 of the kittens. She heaved a sigh of relief. She couldn't think what she would have done if they were lost forever. "Good boy," she said to Blackie. She reached out and picked up the kittens. "Pepper and Pumpkin." "I've got 2, James," she called. Mandy put the kittens in the basket and shut the door firmly. James had run down the path. "Here's George," he called, scooping the kitten up into his arms. He suddenly dived to one side. "And here's Sam." Sam was sitting at the bottom of the tall tree by the gate. He had been playing with a feather he had found on the path. James scooped him up too and returned them both to the basket. Mandy was looking around. Thank goodness, she said. Now, 2 more, Carrots and Clown. Oh, James, where have they gone? Blackie had run around the side of the house. Suddenly they heard a thud hitting the ground. Mandy and James looked at each other, then ran after Blackie. If anyone could find the 2 missing kittens, it was Blackie. But Blackie was standing with his paws on the garbage can. He had reached up and knocked off the plastic lid with his nose. It was one of his favorite tricks. Mandy grabbed his collar. The kittens won't be in there, silly, she said. She pushed Blackie forward. Find them, please, Blackie. Just then she heard a small meow. She spun around, frowning. Where was it coming from? James ran to look in the shed. The door was shut tight, so he came back to Mandy. They won't be in there, he began. Mandy held her fingers to her lips. Shh. Mandy heard the kitten again. The sound seemed to be coming from somewhere near her feet. Then the garbage can lid began to move. Mandy jumped back in surprise. James stared at it wide-eyed. The lid moved again. Blackie gave a little yelp and crept away, his tail between his legs. Then Mandy gave a shout. She knew exactly what was making the lid move. She picked it up. There, underneath, looking dazed, crouched Carrots. The lid must have fallen off on top of him when Blackie knocked it off. Poor old Carrots, James said. Mandy picked up the kittens and hugged him to her. She quickly felt his back legs. He's okay, she said. Blackie, you're the cleverest dog in the world. Blackie was sitting by the hedge looking sorry for himself. And the naughtiest, James gave his dog a hug. Blackie wriggled out of his grasp and ran to the front gate. They quickly searched the back garden, but there was no sign of the last kitten. They hurried back to the basket and put Carrots inside. Dr. Emily came out of the clinic with the kitten's box. Sorry I've been gone so long, she said. I had to take a telephone call. Come on, let's get going now. Mandy quickly explained what had happened. Clown's still missing, she said. We can't go until we found him. He can't have gone far. Dr. Emily looked around. Maybe he went back indoors. Mandy shook her head. He couldn't have. The door's been shut all the time. James had followed Blackie back to the bottom of the tree. Blackie looked up and suddenly began barking. Over here, James shouted. James was looking up into the branches. He pointed. Up there, he said. Mandy gasped. She suddenly felt wobbly at the knees. There, sitting on one of the highest branches, was Clown, the naughtiest kitten of them all.